Hi, this is Lois DeWitt, and we're set up for doing collage, and this is part of a series of demos that I'm showing you about what you can do with collage and give you some ideas of how to work. I have here just a dish of, this is Elmer's glue actually diluted with water just to make it a little easier to work with in a brush. I find that this is probably the easiest way to work with collage materials, at least it is for me anyway. And I have here a little assortment of pages that I've taken out of a specific magazine. It's a magazine that's all about shoes, and I thought that would be fun to use just shoes in a collage. I sometimes just tear the papers like that. I think in this case I might be cutting some things because I want these specific images. And if you deal with images all of one kind of thing, then you might want to be a little more precise than just tearing. So the object is to have it all about these pictures of shoes, but have it become maybe something else. So you can see that there are all those shoes there, but that they maybe give themselves up to some kind of design. So I'm just going to start working and see what develops. And this is a lot of fun once you get into the mode of seeing the papers differently. Pictures become something else, kind of a design element that you can use. This is a very good medium for visualizing, because many times what you're working with becomes something entirely different when you're done. I like these pictures of shoes kind of lined up, so I'm automatically doing this and putting them all in sort of the same kind of direction. I think somewhere along the line I have an idea. I'm not quite sure what it is yet, but another thing I'm noticing is that all the pages from this magazine, the shoes pretty much have all this, they're a certain color range. They're blues, kind of dusty blues and browns and blacks. So that's kind of interesting, because I think the whole, what's going to come out of this is a certain kind of color feeling. This is an interesting page. And then what I'm dealing with here, I'm realizing, is a certain kind of configuration. That is just the way the magazine is set up for displaying these shoes gives a certain shape to the design elements that I'm using for this collage. So basically, I have a very specific kind of environment going on here. I really like these configurations where the shoes are all lined up, because I can repeat this pattern over and over again in this collage and hopefully come up with something pretty interesting. You can see that those shapes, they kind of go into each other. The images that are on the paper will tend to blend with other images. sometimes when you work in collage, I'm not really sure what the outcome is going to be until I put it down. So this is often a kind of a, you have to look very carefully at the way you're working and pick up on what you see. If you see a certain pattern happening, then go for it. See if you can develop it further. And of course, as you work, if you find that either things are changing and you're not really getting specifically what you want, you can always just keep on working. And if you look very carefully at what you're doing, you'll see that things start to develop. You can do this kind of way of working with a lot of different magazines, specific magazines with specific products. It's fun to see how you can develop. The design, because when you start working with that paper, especially paper just from one kind of magazine, yes, this is actually coming along pretty nicely. I think I might want to, I don't know. I have, what's happening here, just by virtue of putting all these things down, is I have a line of, like four lines of these kinds of configurations. Something like this is very interesting because you cut it apart, you don't really know what it is anymore. It's certainly identifiable still as shoes, but it begins to change into other patterns. And then when they repeat themselves over and over again, the designs start to happen, and you have a composition going. Let me put this upside down. Yeah. If I go out over the edge of this, that can all be trimmed off later. You can trim the whole thing down if I'm happy with the configuration. I'm actually really liking this. You can see that the colors are all pretty much the same, and the shapes are pretty much the same. So we're dealing with this kind of thing here, where there's actually there's a word. That can be distracting. I don't know if I can take that out, so I'll try to. Because when somebody looks at it, they're going to go into that word. They're going to see that word right away. So it's best to I find it distracting anyway. Oh, I like those shoes. What were they? Yeah. Maybe one more thing right here. It's a little blank looking right there, and I'm going to keep on overlaying this. Until I get just what I want. Look at it. It'll tell you when it's done. Maybe it's never done. Maybe you weren't very successful, but so if you were to see this this collage off in the distance, you might think that it is something else other than what it is. It may look like tree bark or ladders or something. I'm not quite sure. I haven't taken it off to the distance, but the amusing thing often with collage and the interesting thing is that as you come on it and as you come up close and see it, all of a sudden it reveals itself as something entirely different, which is always kind of fun. So I'm just about done with this. I think I have maybe one more thing to do here, just to, you don't want to make it really explicit. You really want to I want to make the viewer aware that these are pictures of shoes, but that I have arranged them in a way to really make a composition that operates as a creative work by itself. And I hope that gives you an idea of how to work with collage, especially with specific images, and that you'll go ahead and do it now and have a lot of fun.